On day 8, I woke up and I saw a giant body in front of my door. It had been the T-Rex from the night before. One bite was enough to bring me down to 3 hearts, and with the door being blocked by the T-Rex, I had no other way to go than escape from the back door. I ran like my feet were on fire. I quickly turned around and saw that the T-Rex was hot on my heels. I knew there were much more dangerous creatures in the water, but I had no choice. I had to make the jump. Luckily, this T-Rex could not swim, but I was far from done with it. As a punishment for giving me a jump scare, I decided to use my crossbow to kill the T-Rex and harvest its meat. Later, in the village, I had found an enchanting table, but I have never done enchanting before, so I accidentally enchanted an impaling one on my spear. Well, that spear is wasted, I guess. But still, I decided to take the enchanting table because I thought it looked cool. On day 9, I was busy working with more stone to create more totems of undying, when a megatherium from the valley came all the way up to my house and tried to kill me. But this time, this wasn't the case. I killed it. But apparently, the megatherium family had gotten wind of it. So the next morning, another megatherium came to try and kill me. But this guy was a bit more powerful. With 2 swipes, I was down to 3 hearts, and I had risked my life, and I didn't have a totem on me, so I ran. But the megatherium kept chasing me. Eventually, I managed to lure it on top of the mountain and kill it with my crossbow. Later, I had found another baby iguanodon in the riverbanks, so I decided to feed it some hay and decided to tame it. But this time, I had a saddle on me and I decided to try it out. And sure enough, I could ride the iguanodon and move it around like it was a horse. Neat. But there was one small problem. The iguanodon could not sit or stand up. So I had to make a small cage with it using cobblestone, but this cheeky bastard kept escaping. But eventually I managed to trap it in. Come on, get inside. There you go. I went to the caveman in the village, which I had seen the night before, and I gave a bunch of rocks for totems of undying. Finally, I wouldn't die in the first hit. I also noted that there was a Dilophosaurus attacking the livestock in one of the cages, and I decided to take measures against it. With my awesome crossbow, I aimed. But instead of killing the Dilophosaurus, I killed him in me. So I had to slap its cheeks with my spear. That afternoon, I decided to move the livestock over to my base, and I decided to lasso them all up. But the problem was the Dilophosaurus had used poison on them, so one small fist bump and they would all die. Soon enough, it didn't take long, and we only had 3 cows. I mean 4 now that I bred one, and only 1 Mimi and 1 pig was left. But the problem was far from over yet. Once I passed this very dangerous looking landslide, the Mimi slipped off into the river, where a hungry Megalania devoured my poor Mimi. And when I checked what was going on, I was only able to see 2 pieces of Mimi ham floating in the river. I decided to dig a small hole in the ground for the cows to stay in during the night so that no more carnivorous dinosaurs are able to kill the cows. But then, a Megalania came in and bit me twice! I was down to half a heart again! The next day, I decided to come all the way over to the hill and decided to face the Megalania head on. The Megalania decided to thank me by popping me one of its totems. Then I decided to push my cows into the 2x2 hole that I had dug the night before. Luckily enough, the cows decided to obey my orders, and I did not have extra trouble trying to get them in. Just for extra safety measures, I decided to place some fences around the hole. just to make sure. And I also heard on a YouTube video that placing a carpet will make me allowed to go over the fence, so that's exactly what I did. I saw an odontopristis kill a bunch of my wildlife in the river, so I decided to help the wildlife out, and the sawfish attacked me, and I almost died again. But then I thought Thylacoleo had ambushed me and popped another one of my totems. I decided to trade more totems because I already used 2 the other day. But this night I wouldn't sleep. So instead of sleeping, I decided to go into the desert and slay some mobs. To maybe meet an Enderman and get an Ender Pearl, which had been replaced with the bowler in this game, so that I could tame more dinosaurs with it. And I also saw 2 Dimetrodons fighting, so I killed both of them. I was unable to find any Enderman that night, but I did find a very neat looking desert village, which had a lot of villagers in them. One of these villagers was a scribe, so I decided to build a small wooden cage around him to prevent him from being killed. The next morning began with me spearing up an Alvarezsaurus. And then I also went for the Dimetrodon, because why the hell not? Once I made my way back home, I actually found a spooky scary skeleton shooting arrows at me. So I decided to return him the favor by shooting one of my arrows. I didn't really think of it as a big deal, but it turned out the skeleton had dropped the bow. And boy was that bow good! That was one of the best enchants I've seen in a long time. Also, since I had a rather good crossbow now, I decided to take revenge of my Mimi and decided to retrieve its corpse, but I did not think that the Megalania would be that fast in water, and I paid the price, with not only 1, but 2 of my totems. That night, while trying to gather some wood, I heard a roar, and before I could react, I was bitten, and I lost half of all my hearts. I had a small glimpse of a huge jaw, but I did not fight it any further, and I ran as fast as I could. The next morning, I just saw the culprit who had bitten me. It was a huge Giganotosaurus. After grinding for some few more totems, I decided it was time to take the Giganotosaurus on. But by the time I arrived at their zone, the Giganotosaurus was gone. Nah, it just turned out that the Giganotosaurus was in the river. Unfortunately for the Giganotosaurus, I had the high ground, so I killed it. The Giganotosaurus did not drop much loot, a few pieces of hide, but I decided to take it, cause why not? Also, I decided to burn a Stegosaurus and shoot some arrows into an Ankylosaurus for their precious resources. The bow's durability was already running low, so I decided to repair it but with using the anvil that I'd found in the village.